Welcome back, students. This is Vishal sir from Ikra High School, and today we are going to continue chapter 6, Life Processes. This is the part 2 of chapter 6. In this part, we'll study about nutrition and respiration. Let's read first what is nutrition. When we walk or ride a bicycle, we are using up energy. Even when we are not doing any apparent activity, energy is needed to maintain a state of order in our body. We also need material from outside in order to grow, develop, synthesize protein and other substances needed in the body. The source of energy and material is the food we eat. This means that though our body may be inactive, it still needs energy, and that energy is provided by food. The food that we take up is consumed from outside. We do not prepare our own food. We have to consume the food already prepared by plants or animals. How do living things get their food? The general requirement of energy and material is common in all organisms, but it is fulfilled in different ways. Some organisms use simple food material obtained from inorganic source in the form of carbon dioxide and water. These organisms, the autotrophs, include green plants and some bacteria. Other organisms utilize complex substance. These complex substances have to be broken down into simpler ones before they can be used for upkeep and growth of the body. There are two ways for consumption of food. One autotrophic, another heterotropic. So here you can see in autotrophic nutrition, the sunlight is the main source of energy. In heterotropic nutrition, already prepared food is being consumed. So generally there are two types of nutrition, autotrophic and heterotropic. In autotrophic nutrition, the nutrition in which organism can prepare their own food, just like green plants, they just need sunlight and water from external source, while they consume sunlight and water and make it carbohydrate and they store it as starch. The heterotropic are the mode of nutrition in which organisms get their food directly or indirectly from plants. So the herbivores consume vegetation and the carnivores consumes herbivores. These complex substances have to be broken down into simpler ones before they can be used for the upkeep and growth of the body. So when we consume any type of food, for just take for an example apple, that apple contains all the minerals, vitamins and proteins, but that should be broken down in more simple form so that the body can digest, and that energy is being consumed by cells. To achieve this, organisms use biocatalysts called enzymes. So to make the given product into more simpler form, the enzymes act on it to make it more simple. This is how an enzyme works. Whatever food that we eat is absorbed in the blood and that has been broken down. These here organisms are a symbolic form of enzymes. So digestive enzymes are chemical that break large molecule insoluble food molecule into smaller soluble molecules. Thus, the heterotrophs survival depends directly or indirectly on autotrophs. Heterotrophic organisms include animal and fungi. Now let's talk about autotrophic nutrition. Autotrophic nutrition is usually a phenomenon of plant organism, a green, because they contain a green color pigment, chlorophyll, which consumes or which absorbs sunlight, and that sunlight is being transformed into chemical energy, which is utilized into carbohydrate, and that carbohydrate is the main source of energy that a plant consumes. The extra food that is being made during photosynthesis is being stored as starch. So that is autotrophic nutrition. Let's first read the autotrophic nutrition. After that I'll explain more about it. carbon and energy requirement of the autotrophic organism are fulfilled by photosynthesis. It is the process by which autotrophs take in substances from outside and convert them into stored form of energy. This material is taken in the form of carbon dioxide and water, which is converted into carbohydrate in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. Carbohydrates are utilized for providing energy to the plants. We will study how this takes place in the next section. The carbohydrates which are not used immediately are stored in the form of starch, which serves as the internal energy reserve to be used as and when required by the plant. A somewhat similar situation is seen in us, where some of the energy derived from the food we eat is stored in our body in the form of glycogen. So the food that we consumed directly or indirectly through plants is none other than carbohydrate. We are actually consuming carbohydrate, and that food is again broken down into glucose. See here the equation: carbon dioxide and water combine together in the presence of chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is the green color pigment present in the plant cell, and sunlight, it makes it glucose, that is carbohydrate, with 6 oxygen, that is the 6 molecule of oxygen are released in the atmosphere, as well as 6 molecules of water is also released in the atmosphere. That is, during photosynthesis, water and oxygen are being given out. Now let us see what actually happens during the process of photosynthesis. The event occurs in only 3 steps. The first step is absorption of light energy by chlorophyll. Second step is conversion of light energy to chemical energy and splitting of water molecule into hydrogen and oxygen. And the third is reduction of carbon dioxide to carbohydrate. Photosynthesis occurs only in these 3 steps. These steps need not take place one after the other immediately. So that means it is not just like as the light energy is absorbed by the chlorophyll, it directly converts into chemical energy and then it starts making food. No, it takes time. It takes time, because in here an example is given for desert plants, that desert plants take up carbon dioxide at night. Usually plants give out carbon dioxide during night and consume oxygen. They also go through respiration just like us. But here they take carbon dioxide. Desert plants take up carbon dioxide at night and prepare an intermediate which is acted upon by the energy absorbed by the chlorophyll during the day. So during daytime, due to lot of heat, the desert plant does not open their stomata, because if the stomata is open, stomata is an opening from where exchange of gas and transpiration takes place. During the opening of stomata, there will be more loss of water during daytime. So during daytime, the desert plant doesn't open up stomata. So during night time, what it does, it consumes carbon dioxide, or it stores carbon dioxide produced inside it during respiration. It doesn't give out the whole carbon dioxide out of its body. It stores that carbon dioxide for the daytime to make it carbohydrate during photosynthesis. So in autotrophic nutrition, photosynthesis takes place in the chloroplast of the plant cell, where the chlorophyll captures energy from the sunlight, and the water, mineral salts and carbon dioxide are used to produce organic matter such as glucose. So here is a diametric representation of what we have just read. Now let us study how plants obtain carbon dioxide. In class 9 we had talked about stomata. So stomata are the opening and closings from where you can say that the exchange of gases and water takes place, which are tiny pores present on the surface of the leaves. What are stomata? They are just tiny pores present on the surface of the leaf. Massive amount of gaseous exchange takes place in the leaves through these pores for the purpose of photosynthesis. It is important to note here that exchange of gases occur across the surface of stem, root and leaves as well. So in plants, it is very good that the stem, root and leaves all breathe together. They all go through respiration. Since large amount of water can also be lost through this stomata, plants closes these pores when it does not need carbon dioxide for photosynthesis. This is what a plant does. Why does it close the stomata? Because there is always loss of water during the opening of stomata. And that is what it tries to conserve. Water is not available easily for plants. Its root has to go deep inside the soil to gain water. So for that thing, the stomata opens and close, and that opening and closing of stomata is controlled by guard cells. So the opening and closing of pore is a function of guard cell. The guard cells swell when water flows into them, causing stomatal pore to open. Similarly, the pore closes if the guard cell shrinks. So far we have talked about how autotrophs meet their energy requirement, but they also need other raw materials for building their body. Water used in photosynthesis is taken up from the soil by the roots in the terrestrial plants. So in the earlier two experiments we have seen that chlorophyll and carbon dioxide are the two main things that are needed for photosynthesis, but also water is needed for photosynthesis. Other materials, nitrogen, phosphorus, iron and magnesiums are taken up from the soil. Nitrogen is an essential element used in the synthesis of protein and other compounds. So just like we need carbohydrate, plants need nitrogen, main component as and for making their food or for consuming energy. This is taken up in the form of inorganic nitrate or nitrates. Now nitrogen is available in the nature or in the atmosphere in the utmost content, but still plants cannot use that nitrogen directly. So what it has to do, it has to consume the nitrogen from nitrate or nitrates, or it is been taken by organic compound which has been prepared by bacteria from atmospheric nitrogen. Now let's talk about heterotropic nutrition. Each organism is adapted to its environment. The form of nutrition differs depending on the type and availability of food material as well as how it is obtained by the organism. For example, whether the food source is stationary such as grass or mobile such as deer would allow for differences in how the food is accessed and what is the nutritive apparatus used by a cow and a lion. So they both need nutrition, but they take up their nutrition in different way. Just talk about cow, it consumes grass. The grass is stationary, the cow doesn't have to run here and there. It can simply walk on the grass and consume it. While the lion has to hunt for herbivore animal. It may be deer or even cow. It has to run, it has to spend more energy and it needs a high amount of energy for that. So the availability and the form of nutrition depends on the organism. There is a range of strategies by which food is taken in and used by the organism. Some organisms break down the food material outside the body and then absorb it. So fungus does like this. Fungus, brain mold, yeast and mushrooms, they break down the food into simpler form outside the body. After that they consume it. What can be taken in and broken down depends on the body design and functioning. So it depends on how the body has developed itself. Some organisms derive nutrition from plant or animal without killing them. So these organisms are parasitic organisms. They do not kill their animal. They act, the animal on which they live act as host, and from that they get their energy. These parasitic nutritive strategies used by a wide variety of organisms like cuscata, ticks, lice, leeches and tapeworms. These are parasitic organisms. Here these four are In animal kingdom, while